Hello everybody, cheers! This is Greg Vitti with Real Estate Legends. I'm so excited to talk today with Jimmy Ronan of Ronan Construction. Jimmy's a classic Chicago builder. He built hundreds of properties, but I know it didn't always start that way. Jimmy, give us a little background on you growing up in Ireland, your family dynamics. You had 8 siblings, or you and 7 others.
Yeah, right, yeah. My parents met in Chicago in the 60s.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah, my oldest brother was born here. And they moved back to Ireland in 69. And then they had 7 more kids there.
Wow.
7 boys and 1 girl. My sister's the youngest. Yeah.
How far apart are you guys in age? Or some
I think we're myself and Maddie are almost Irish twins.
Okay.
You know, and then the rest of them are all 2 years apart.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Maddie's the only odd. No, he's 70. I'm 72.
So your mother must have been cooking and cleaning.
She was wonderful.
She must have been. She must have been a saint. They didn't have any kids, and the girls are all big and hungry.
Yeah, she's a wonderful lady. My mother. God bless her. But yeah, there was always 4 or 5 pots going anytime you went in the kitchen.
And then your dad, what was he doing for a living?
He was in the trades for a little bit, and then he got hurt, and then he was full-time sheep farmer.
Okay.
For most of his life. He was pretty wonderful tradesman. He was a good carpenter. He'd do brickwork, you name it, building stones.
Did he help you guys to learn the profession?
Did, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he brought us into the trades really early on. He found out that we were free labour, you know, so we spent a lot of time.
And good labour.
And we were free good labour.
Exactly.
Buys a couple of sodas and an ice cream and we'd keep going.
Keep going. You're about 11 years old, you're on the scaffolding, putting the bricks
I remember being, 10 or 11, myself and Maddie were over in Part 3, the village over, and we went up on he says he needed somebody to hold the other end of the rafter, and we went up on the roofs and we had one end and he nailed the other.
Well, and you get used to doing it, and it's not that big of a deal then.
No, it's not, you know.
So like I grew up in Highland Park, there weren't a lot of carpenters coming from Highland Park at that time. Yeah. And so when I finally got into construction after I quit college, I remember my friend saying, "You've never really held tools before." No, that's good, you have no bad habits. Yeah, right. But with you guys, you had it already going on.
We had, yeah.
So how'd you get to?
But I remember coming to America, and I remember when we were leaving, and everybody saying, "You're going to work hard in America. You get to America, you work hard." And then I got here, and I first started working for Vince Hennigan, and another wonderful man, and then I worked.
Hennigan, the demo?
Not the wreckers. No. They're actually from the same.
There's a few Hennigans. There's some builder Hennigans.
Vince passed away a couple of years ago, and he was a wonderful man. And I worked for him that's when I got my start with him.
And he was building buildings?
Yeah, he was doing the carpentry for all the guys, yeah. And
so did you start as a carpenter or as a labourer?
I started as a carpenter with him.
Okay.
And then I'd say after about a year, I was running a crew for him, myself and my brother Stephen.
So you were framing?
Yeah, framing.
Framing everything? Would you put the drywall up, the cabinets in, the floors down?
And everything, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
And how old were you then?
I was 21 then.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I came when I was 21. I turned 21 in March, and I came in June 11th, 93.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so did your whole family come?
Yeah, well I already had 2 brothers here, Johnny and Martin were here.
Okay.
And then myself and Stephen came. Martin was getting married, and so we came for his wedding. All the family came over for the wedding.
Beautiful.
And I never left, you know. I was working, when I left Ireland, I was working for a local guy building stone walls. And I used to bartend in Morlooks back at the end of the village. I had a lot of years there doing that and worked with my father on the farm at home. Yeah.
Well, I know you've given back a lot. Like I was mentioning to you that I had talked to Damien, and he told me his first start was basically, you come from Ireland, they tell you to go to the Irish bar, and look for Jimmy Ronan, and he'll probably give you a job.
Exactly.
And he said, Jimmy gave me a job, and I really loved it. So I know you've done a whole mentoring program.
Yeah, but I don't know what you call it, mentoring. I got my start similar to that. We were out in Schiller Park, out at it was the Horseshoe Inn, and myself and my dad went into the bar, and we were sitting there, and Vince Hennigan was there, and Hennigan says to my dad, my dad was a good tradesman, he says, "You come on out to work with me," and he says, "No," he says, "I won't go," but he says, "That fella there will go with you," and he pointed at me, And so the next morning,
That started-
Eddie McGittigan picked me up, and Billy McGarry, and I went to work for them and never looked back.
And so then, how did you segue into doing your own company?
Myself and Stephen were together, and we were getting quite busy doing the carpentry, and then we kind of segued into doing the masonry as well. And so we had our own masonry crew and carpenter's crew going, and we were basically taking buildings from the concrete and putting them on the roof. And then one day we were like, hold on a second, we're
doing this for everybody else.
Yeah, and why don't we do it for ourselves?
Fantastic.
So then the two of us got together and we started Ronan Construction in 1997.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and then my brother John left the gas company and he came with us and he ran all the projects for us and we stayed working in the trades.
Well, I know you build some unbelievable places.
Yeah,
Like some of the woodwork in your places are so impressive. And we'll have to get some pictures up so that you can share those with us,
Yeah.
with the crew. So,
Right, yeah.
so now do you do most of the things with subcontractors now?
Yeah, so most of it is subcontractor. We still do our own masonry, we'll do our own flat work if need be. We still do all our own carpentry, rough and finished carpentry.
Well, I know you've bought a lot of properties and you've
we
renovated a lot of
Yeah,
places.
we found we found our niche in finding old historic buildings, putting them back together. We've got decent few awards from the historical department for saving older ones, and we've also found a niche in smaller new construction buildings, 3 flats, and
3 flats, 6 flats.
The Irish high rises, Sean Connon used to call them.
The Irish high rise, here's that. And so then, you have any children?
I do, yeah. I have 3 kids. I got Jimmy is 20, going to be, holy smokes, he's going to be 20.
21?
Two.
Oh, 22.
He's going to be 22 now in the February 15th.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And then Ellie is down, I got Georgia Tech merchant. She's going to Georgia Tech.
Fantastic.
She's down there, she'll be 21. And Olivia is at Marquette.
Beautiful.
And she's a sophomore up there in Marquette.
So that's exciting.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
keeps you grounded.
Oh, for sure. They're wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh, I'm
kids.
sure they have a good attitude.
Oh, they do, yeah.
They're hard workers.
They're good. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty, that's for sure. Yeah. I
So,
don't mind getting
your first project that was your own,
Mhm.
that you built new construction, what's that?
That would be the 38 North Seminary, I think. 32,
Okay.
38 or 32, 34 North Seminary.
And it was a single family? No,
No,
a
it was
three-flat?
it was a 3 flat.
Okay.
It was a 3 flat.
Was that in the days where you could do duplex up, simplex, duplex
that's
down?
correct, yeah.
That was the good old days.
Yeah, that was the good old days.
Yeah, now it's just to get the staircase to the roof.
They were big 3 flats. I got that through Dennis Glasgow.
Oh, Dennis Glasgow. Yeah, we talked about Dennis.
We touched base on
Dennis and I were close.
another wonderful man, right?
The Glasgow families were the nicest group of
Yeah, no,
people
for sure, yeah.
on the planet.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm friends with Sean Glasgow. I know him now, and the other brother as well. A couple of them.
Well, Dennis came to me when he was sick, and he said, "Greg, you really got to help Sean." I said, "How would you want me to help him?"
Yeah.
To be a realtor. So he was a joking guy, so I got a really serious face, and I said, "Oh, you'd like me to make Sean a better realtor than you, Dennis?"
Right.
He goes, "Oh, you son of a bitch, what are you going to say?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to tell him, don't slam the phone down, don't yell at people, don't force them to do anything under duress."
Yeah.
Now, didn't he go to St. Ignatius and then got himself through Northwestern?
Yeah, he did.
I think he's going to do pretty fine on his own.
Yeah.
And Sean and I worked for 13 years together.
Oh, you
And
did?
I mentored him totally.
Yeah.
And it was right in the situation where, one, I was getting all of these referrals from RE/MAX agents from all over the place. And I had put this ad in the Yellow Pages of all places, where I looked in the Yellow Pages and it was all companies except my business card with my smiling face. And I must have gotten 40 different listing appointments off of this stupid ad.
Yeah.
And Sean and I would go on these appointments, and sometimes the sellers would be like crazy prices.
Right.
And rather than get like frustrated or try to tell, we would laugh and joke. And Sean and I were having so much fun the whole time that they wouldn't want us to leave.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, okay, maybe we'll take your price. Well, we're not going to take your price, so
Sure,
if it's not our price, we're going to have to leave now.
Yeah.
And they wanted the fun to stay, so
Sure,
we had so many laughs and
Yeah.
so much good time.
Yeah.
What a fabulous family, and that's part of real estate. I feel like,
Sure
that,
is,
you
yeah.
know, it's all about relationships.
So without a doubt, and it's being in the right place and the right time has a lot to do with it.
Timing's good.
Yeah, right.
Little knowledge is
Little
good.
knowledge, yeah.
But
I remember one time I was on Rita Street by Addison there, and I was doing masonry on a job around the corner, and I pulled up, and I seen a for sale sign in the window, and I learned this from Chuck Mudd.
Of course,
The
the master.
The master himself. How you Chuck if you
Hey,
watch.
Chuck.
But anyway, I called up the thing in the window. The guy came out and he's like, yeah, he said, sell it. And I was like, okay. And so then he goes, I signed a contract with him. He goes, I think my neighbor might sell, but he goes, you'd want to dress up a little bit. He's a bit highfalutin. So I leave.
Get dressed up in a white
dressed
shirt.
up, ran back, came back in, and at the time I was driving like a big old dump truck, and I parked down the street.
Yeah, fucking that street and walk.
And I walked into the guy, sat in his living room, struck a deal with him. He signed the contract and whatever.
So you had a double lot then.
And I had a double lot then. And I'm getting up and I'm walking out, and he goes to me, I've seen a lot of things in my time, but he says, a guy dressed in a suit driving a dump truck is a new one. He's seen me coming a mile away.
Well, I know that you have 1,000,001 fun stories,
Yeah.
because I remember the first time I met you, we were at, I think it was Finan's Bar.
That's right, O'Shaughnessy's up
Yeah,
there.
and we had the best conversation. Like, we were both laughing so hard for so long, and we have Chuck Mudd between us. I worked with Chuck at Lee Harris forever.
Right.
Chuck and I would business development call until like 10 o'clock at night every night, harass more people. And Chuck could tell when I had a hot one, and I would write the address down.
Sure.
And he would come back to the office, and I would still be on the phone with them, and he'd be writing to offer him 165. It's this, and this.
Sure, yeah, sure, right, yeah.
So we had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So I know you have a lot of great relationships with agents, and I know that you've made a lot of people in real estate a lot of money.
Yeah, there's a lot of men that have gone through, and a couple of women too, gone through Ronan Construction and went on to be very successful guys.
Oh yeah,
very, very good. Yeah,
I remember when Sam was doing a rental with me,
Yeah,
and he was brand new in the business.
sure, yeah.
And now you guys have made him a small fortune,
Yeah,
but he's also made you some good money too.
No, he's a great guy.
He's a hard worker.
He's a hard worker. I met Sam back in, I want to say, 2004, 2005.
Isn't that funny? It's
We
already
were
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years ago. And Ryan Cotter,
Mm-hmm.
himself and Ryan Cotter were selling the building over on, because I GC'd it for them at that stage. We had our own general contracting company, which Ronan turned into, you know. But I remember Sam and Ryan coming up, and one was greener than the other. And I'm like, you guys are selling this? And I go, yeah. And then we became friends. I'm still
But it's
friends
so cute, you know. It's
I'm
like
still
you
great friends with
appreciate
them.
that.
Yeah, I'm still great friends with them today. I'm very
Well,
good friends with them, yeah.
I know that you have 1,000,001 crazy stories. I remember you were telling me that one story about the union guy kept coming back to your building.
That was that same one over there. I
That
think
big,
that was
huge
at-
building. It was like in the West Loop or something.
Yeah.
And the guy keeps opening the door. He kind of comes in, and you kind of motivated him out pretty harshly.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And then he didn't come back again.
No, it did not, no. No, we did. We
Oh,
asked
look.
him to believe in those. I'm not
Yeah.
sure we can put that on tape. But,
Yeah.
but anyways, we managed.
But
We
it's
got that,
interesting
yeah.
to think of all the different types of real estate you've been able
Yeah.
to accomplish.
Sure.
You know, from small little apartment buildings to large ones.
Yeah.
What's the biggest property you ever did on your own as a developer?
As a developer on my own, I think probably like a 5-story building that we done down in Clybourne last year. That was the tallest one we done. That was because they changed the zoning. We always stayed within our sticks and bricks
Right.
sort of a thing. So we always stayed there within that.
Except when Chuck helped you out with that, the SBA
Oh yeah,
to get around the alderman.
that's correct.
But
not sure
how about
what
that
that
school that you did?
Oh,
Right on Lincoln.
On Lincoln Avenue there.
Yeah, that's where the bowling alley was.
That's correct, yeah. So
That's a gorgeous
That's
building.
a beautiful looking building there too.
We'll have to get a picture of that one.
Yeah, we'll have to get a picture of that one. That's lovely looking.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We did a Signature Bank up on the northwest side. We built that building for them guys over there. Mick O'Rourke, another great guy.
Another Italian guy.
Another Italian guy. So we done that one. I'm trying to think where we done a couple of cool ones. Like we remodeled some old buildings over in Bucktown. We've done some stuff on Canton there where we got awards for older single family homes and restoring them.
Well, I remember going through a building with you and Art Colazzo that he was selling for you in Lincoln Park.
Mm-hmm.
And where was that? It was like on Cleveland. No, I can't think of the street, but was it gorgeous? Like you really, and I know you did a lot with that design, but the way you did the woodwork, just over the top.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. We were doing all the woodwork ourselves, so we just had to buy the material.
So you guys really became masters of woodwork.
Exactly.
You guys are really woodworkers.
My brother Stephen is really the woodworker.
That stuff looks like furniture.
Exactly, yeah. No, he done a lot of work. Talented, super talented for sure. He's the reason all the woodwork gets done.
That's
you're
wonderful.
not me.
So your best part of, like, if you were the builder, are you best at masonry, carpentry?
I'm the best at masonry.
Masonry,
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, masonry without a doubt. I enjoyed it.
And I know you take out the blueprints and you figure out a lot of the designs. And
sure, right.
You work with various architects, or how do you?
Yeah, you can see there's a bunch of different ones there. We have Red Architects, Victor over there. We have Booth Hansen, another great company. 360 Design, the guys over at 360, and Mike Marisso, he's got his own shop. So there's we have a bunch of different architects that we work with on a regular basis.
And what's your most exciting part of the business to you?
So for me, I think once you find a piece of property and then you get that under contract, right?
Then you start dreaming it.
Then you got to figure out what to do with it. And I know it's time lapses, so you have a year or 18 months elapsed, and when you see that thing finished and it all put together, and somebody comes in and they're like, wow,
they're just love it.
Just love it. I want that.
It's really satisfying.
It's for sure, without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt.
It motivates you to keep doing it.
And if you see what we started with and what we ended up with,
right?
You've been in a couple of rough ones yourself, and you see what people do with.
They just keep the one wall up, and they probably even change that, but you got to do that for zoning and this and that, and it's everything is.
Yeah, there's no two the same. I've never come across two buildings that work out the same. And then same thing with the issues. You'd be like, we're doing it a long time, and you're like, well, that's a new one. I've never seen that one before.
Well, I remember being in Santa Fe, and I was supposed to build this vanity into a wall, all custom. But I'm looking at the architecture plans and they don't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so I call the architect. It takes the guy 4 hours to get there. He shows up. He charges us $300 to fix his mistake.
Right.
And then my buddy goes, "Did you learn something?" Oh yeah, I'm never calling the architect again. I'm just going to figure it out myself and draw it up. But he always gave me great advice. He said, never start the project until you see the end. If you see the end in your mind,
if you can see it,
then it's going to really work together.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You can visualize what it's going to look like in the end. I mean, even down to the placement of the outlets, where the outlets are sitting,
how high they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that the woodwork is going to come in there. That's got to be down.
Yes, yeah.
And I know there's on the job site. One, I always love the camaraderie and the joking around.
Right, sure, yeah.
But I love the problem solving.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah, everybody's got to get together in the end and figure out what it's going to.
I just had one of my clients, he called me, because you got to come see this house. This guy wanted me to build it for him. Tell me what you think. And I said, who put the closet right when you walk in the door so you missed all of your drama? He goes, oh, that was this guy that wants to move in maybe, but now he wants to sell it. I said, well, first thing I would do is tear out the closet. Put it somewhere else. Don't you want to walk in and have drama?
Right.
And it's funny how it goes. The simple things.
Yeah, we want to try and hide them.
Right. Hide closets. Hide bathrooms.
Yeah, right, yeah. Right.
And really accentuate that kitchen if you can.
If you can, yeah. If you can.
Oh man, I tell you, some of the places that you guys build are just over the top. So like right now, how many projects you have going on?
So right now I have I have 3 projects that we're doing for ourselves, for sale, condos for sale, and then we have probably 4 rehabs for different people, and then we're working on 2 more rehabs for ourselves.
Okay, so for Jimmy, that's like 8 or 9 projects. That's where he feels the most comfortable. About 9, 10 projects. That's not a big deal for you now.
That's where we're at, yeah.
Well, I'm sure when you started, that would have been.
Oh, you wouldn't even have looked excited. We're like, if we do 1 a year, we're like, oh, we got that one done. Like, you know.
That must have been a nice feeling though when you realize, wow, I have enough money. I could buy the building. I could be the developer.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I could be the builder and the developer. That way you could have meetings with yourself.
Exactly, yeah. Tell yourself what went wrong.
Yeah.
Or you went wrong.
Yeah. Let's go over that again.
Yeah, right.
I got some good feedback from myself, and I'm not going to do that one again.
I'm not going to do that one again. Exactly. We've had plenty of those conversations. We're like, oh, we learned our lesson on that one. You know.
That's part of it.
That's part of it. Not everything is roses all the time. You know what I mean? You got to take the ups and the downs with it.
Like I was saying to you earlier, life is like this. Sometimes you're like this.
Right,
and then sometimes you're like this.
Right,
and either way, you got to still stay on the game.
Yeah, all the time.
And so, if someone wanted to hire you,
right,
would they'd just call you direct?
Yeah, they should call me direct.
What's the phone number, Jimmy?
Call my office here at 773-588-9164. Yeah.
And we'll put up some of the fine stuff that Ronan Construction builds, because when you do see what he's building, it's incredible. I had a double lot that Jimmy ended up buying both of them in the end, and built these houses, or they're condominiums that were really like houses.
Yeah, they were like
because they were really deep, with about 160 feet deep or something.
Yeah, right.
And they were extra wide.
Yeah.
When you have the width, you can really build a different bedroom scenario. Like those actually had masters that were gorgeous, or primary bedrooms.
Right, your primary bedrooms, primary bathrooms. I mean, I remember back when we started, you know, like we could do the whole building for like what we're just buying the faucets for today. You know,
isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Like we're spending $20,000 per unit on faucets.
Wow!
And who would have thought that? Do you know what I mean? It's great.
Yeah. Like, or how about the cabinets?
The cabinets. I mean, there you go. Right.
How about the plumbing fixture? I mean, not even fixtures. How about just
the cabinets and the
just the plumbing?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Just to get the pipes.
Crazy.
It is
the price
crazy.
of a lint of copper today.
Yeah.
Compared to what it was.
It's humbling.
It's
humbling. That's where you know that you got to deal with real people.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an inexpensive thing. So when you
can't
first started, you could buy a piece of land for $80,000 to $150,000.
That's correct. Yeah. The first piece of property I bought over on Seminary there, I think we paid $162 or $163,000.
And that was a standard lot?
That was a standard lot. And I remember closing on it. I bought that. I came here in '93, and I bought that property in '95.
Okay.
My brother Johnny. And I remember the day we closed. We went up to the Thatch pub on the northwest side up on Milwaukee there. And I remember going in, and Red Pat Hennigan is in there. John Hennigan's father, Red Pat, another, you know, another great
Cheers
guy.
to him.
Here's to Red Pat for sure. I'm still friends with his son John. Met him over the holidays. But we walk into the bar and we're all excited. And next thing Red Pat goes, and he was an old builder. He was retired at the time. And he goes, what are you so giddy about? And I says, well, we just closed on a lot. He goes, where? I says, 32, 38, I think, in our seminary, 32, 38. And he goes, what do you pay for it? I says, we paid $163 for it.
Oh, you got screwed! Oh,
he goes, can you get out of it? Can you get out of the contract? I go, no, we just closed today. Because you're going to lose your ass, he says. Nobody ever paid more than $150 Easter I seen. You was really mad.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny?
Well, I remember when those townhouses came. Oh, it's got to be on. It's right off of Ashland. They built those big townhouses there. I think it's Henderson and I forget the other street. But they sold one of the units for $260,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at the lots thing. We've been selling the lots for 150 to 175. If this one's 260, all of a sudden, all the lots went to 250 to 300.
That's correct, yeah.
It just all jumped in one.
Yeah.
Remember when they were building those houses in Bucktown, and they wanted 300,000, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's no way they're gonna sell for 300,000," and then they resold for about 600,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh God.
There's another can left there. Huh?
Yeah, we got a can for you.
They're starting to taste good.
Yeah, well, you deserve it.
Right.
You've been working hard.
Yeah, I remember Sean Conlon brought me a deal over on the 900 block of Wood Street, and I remember developing that. But I remember.
Oh, wait, that was my friend Evan's building. Evan Winston was the owner of that.
Oh, yeah.
It was a white one. He had his canoe in the back.
It was a double lot.
Then maybe it wasn't his.
No, this was a double lot.
Because I remember telling him, he goes, "I only have to pay $5,000 for the commission." I go, "It's Sean Conley." He goes, "No, it's not." I go, "Yeah, it is." Then he calls me back, "You were right. It was Sean Conley."
Yeah, right.
And I ended up selling him a building. That was a funny story. I sold him a building that was it was a 4-flat, but the woman who was listing it was the owner, and she went and got a real estate license so she could underprice her property because she didn't know what the hell she was doing.
Sure.
And she thought that the 4th unit wasn't a 4th unit.
Right.
And so I said, "Evan, she's all confused." "What do you mean?" "Well, she's got like $895 for the rent.
Yeah.
Those rents are going to be $3,000 someday."
Yeah.
He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "This is Wicker Park. They're 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Like, what do you she's
thinking?
way off."
I remember buying that. Go ahead.
No, so then she figures it out because we were under contract for $650, him getting $25,000 back, and she was getting cold feet. So I called Hubert, and I said, "Hey Hubert," he goes, "Is this about that deal?" I go, "No, this is about what do you drink?" And he goes, "Scotch." So I went and bought an $80 bottle of scotch, and I brought it to his office and put it on his desk. He goes, "This is about Elk Grove, isn't it?" I go, "It is." He goes, "That's all done. There's no argument between the broker and the salesperson.
Right,
You got it."
Yeah.
And sadly, Evan recently passed, but he's got $3,200 rents on the top 3 floors, and then that is a legal 4-flat, and he gets like $2,200 there, so you can imagine.
Right, yeah.
But sorry to interrupt you. What were you thinking?
No, I was saying about that double lot that I bought that time. I think I paid $230 for the double lot. $230,000, and everybody said, "There's no way. That's too much money for it." And I'm like, "I bet beautiful 6 unit."
Exactly.
Sean sold up ours, and we made money, and we kind of went on from there.
That's it.
Yeah,
Isn't that exciting the way it works?
That's fucking great.
Yeah, you learn, you grow.
I don't know if we didn't know any better,
Exactly.
right?
Just do the best you could.
Yeah, like you always, it's an old cliche. They say you put good people around you, and you'll be fine.
It's the truth.
And at the time,
Typically.
and at the time, we had good people with us, and we stayed with it. Like I had Sean Conlon then, and Sam was working for Sean later on, and myself and Sam and Ryan Carter became friends, and and then we met.
Well, I wish I would have met you earlier.
Chuck Mudd,
Oh, God.
Chris Fewer.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Sean Lally,
Solid
all
people.
the-
I worked with
wonderful guys.
Chris and Art and all those guys at King of Stray for
yeah,
years.
another great guy. You know what I mean?
Chuck Gore
I'm-
convinced me to come to King of Stray
Right.
and work with all those people.
With all those guys.
And I had a blast there. And, we were
That's
selling
right.
about, $1.5 billion in our office.
Unbelievable.
And we were just moving properties.
Yeah.
And, Art would come in, "I got another development. What do you think?" And I would look at his drawings, and I think I have to find 2 or 3 things that are wrong. And I would sit there and wait, and then I'd figure it out. I'm like, "You don't have a closet here. You don't have this here." Like, he's like, "Oh, shit, you're right." But what a smart guy he is.
Art?
Yeah.
I think Art was one of the best in the business.
Whenever I have a problem
Right.
financially, I always think of Art.
Mm-hmm.
Because Art did phenomenal. He was making so much, but when it all hit the fan, he was about $100,000. I mean, he was $100 million over his skis. Yeah. And he figured it out.
He figured it out. Of course he did.
And
Of course he did.
I'm so proud of him.
Well, like if you think back in 08, if you weren't in the only one that didn't get hurt was the fella that was at home doing nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If you were in the industry, you had.
Oh God.
I
had a 9-month period. I had been selling 40 to 50 properties a year for like 15 years straight. And during that 2008 downturn, I had 9 months of working like 10-hour days, 6-day weeks, and I didn't make one sale. And my wife would say, "You're incredible." I go, "Incredible? I'm going broke." She goes, "No, you have a great attitude anyway. Like, I'm so proud of you that you keep your attitude and you keep on fighting." It's like, but that's part of this business, right? It goes up and down. It gets a little easier as you do it longer. I mean,
you do, but you still see them. You still make mistakes. You try not to make the same mistake twice.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know, my biggest mistake is sometimes I go overboard with people. I can't help myself. If they're indecisive, I still stick with them. I might show them way too many properties, give them way too much advice.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's better just to write the contract and go.
Yeah, but I don't. You know, honesty is the best policy.
It always is.
It always is.
It always
a good deal is a good deal.
Right.
Bad one is a bad one. So
Right.
they say like in real estate, the best deals are the ones you didn't do.
Sometimes that is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, the best deals is like you're looking back on it, you're like, oh, I didn't.
Yeah, and
see if
you know, I some of the hardest things I ever did was like I built that building and I had 2 years of hell, or probably 3 years where I didn't really sleep because I had all the investors' money up. I remember I called you a ton of times. You helped me out with it, and but you know what, the energy and the humbleness that you learn when your ass is on the line.
Right.
I know when I'm dealing with guys like you understand that I get it. You can just feel it.
Sure,
I understand on a different level than normal broker who just just buy that. It's not that big a deal. Just build this. No, it's all a big deal. You can't screw up any one of the part of the process.
But they're not all going to work out.
No.
I mean, we've all lost money on deals.
Right.
I mean, we put in a year, 2 years work, and then you're down to the last one, and you're going, "Oh, where's my?"
It's not penciling out right. Oh, okay, we lost money after 2 years of working on something.
Exactly, yeah. But it's about consistency. I think it's, you're not depending on one deal. There's always going to be another deal in the hopper.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? There's funnel coming down. There's always another.
That's what I love about real estate. Everywhere you look, there's real estate.
Yeah.
And there's mom and pops. There's very sophisticated people.
Sure, yeah.
I'm involved with a lot of these builders groups.
Right.
And I love being around these really humble people that own thousands of units.
Sure, yeah.
Because I know how hard it is.
Right.
Oh, it looks glamorous. Oh, he owns 5,000 units. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's got to deal with the taxes. He's got to deal with the tenants. He's got to deal with the insurance going up.
Yeah.
The utilities going up.
Yeah.
The way the judges are with the tenants. There's all these different things.
Yeah, it's a moving, living thing.
It's a moving, living thing, and it's not so simple.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says.
Nobody's. You're dealing with humans. When you're dealing with humans, you're going to have issues.
You're gonna have issues,
right? You're just going to have issues.
What do they say? Some people are so much fun till they're no fun at all.
Yeah.
But I notice you've always kept your good attitude.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on. That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, you got to try and keep a good attitude, because if you're going to, we take our business serious. But if you're going to be miserable doing it, well then it's not for you.
So why don't we do a cheers to some of these people that we know in common that we both really love and respect. Right. Here's one for Chuck Mudd.
Chuck Mudd.
Art Colazzo.
Art Colazzo.
Chris Fiore.
Chris Fiore, yeah. Chris Fiore. We could start naming them.
Dennis Glasscott.
Dennis Glasscott.
Sean Glasscott. God bless you guys.
Dead Dennis.
To the Glasscotts.
I learned more from Dennis in, I'd say, 1 hour when I first went into his house over on Henderson Street. He was either on the 1400 block or the 1500. There was a 2-flat. Yep. It was on the north side of the street.
It's actually a single family. It was a 2-flat. He made it a single family.
Was that what it was?
And he had all 5 boys sleeping in. He took 2 of the bedrooms and put them as one, and he had all 5 kids sleeping in there. Yeah. He actually, when I met Therese.
What was his wife's name?
Therese. She's the nicest lady.
Lovely lady, yeah.
She brought me into the kitchen. She goes, "Look, he hasn't finished this." I said, "I'm coming to finish it tomorrow."
Yeah.
Well, he was so mad at me because he took it personally. I'm like, "Dennis, I got the guy. I've got the materials. We're just let us finish your house. We finish the house."
Sure, yeah.
But he called me the day my dad died.
Yeah.
And he said, "I heard your father passed. Come to the bar." And I said, "Well, you don't drink." He goes, "Come to the bar now." And he sat me at the end of the bar. There was nobody else in the place. He goes, "What are you going to have?" I said, "A beer." He goes, "Tell me every last thing about your dad. I want to hear everything." Right. and I didn't leave
What year
for
was
5
that?
hours.
What
That
year was that?
1994.
Okay.
And what a, I'll never forget that. He really helped me through it, because
Sure.
that's such a tough thing. Like,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I know you lost
I
your
did,
father.
I lost my dad in 2016. Yeah, he was a wonderful man.
And I heard it was quite a celebration.
Oh my goodness, went on for days.
Where was the funeral?
The funeral was in Tourmakeady in our village. We waked him. He wanted to be waked in his house, and everybody came from.
So how big is
all
this
over.
village?
The village of Tourmakeady is probably 1,100 people today. 1,100 people, yeah.
And then there's a lot of villages around there?
Yeah, there is, yeah. You have Clonborrowby to the southwest, is it our local town? Ballinrobe, it'd be the local town, and that's probably like 14 miles. It's on the other side of the lake. It's situated on a lake called Loch Mask, the second largest lake in.
But it sounds to me like then everybody in the town came to the.
Oh, they did. They came from all over.
They came from everywhere.
They did, yeah.
He had a lot of kids.
Yeah.
He had a lot of family and friends.
Exactly, yeah. Well, yeah, he was one of 3 himself, and then, but he was, there was, my mom was one of 7, so there was that whole crew to deal with.
And then all of you guys, and all your friends.
Yeah, right.
So it adds up fast.
Yeah, it adds
but
up.
there's a lot of food, a lot of corned beef that day.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a lot of whiskey too.
I
A lot
bet.
of whiskey, a lot of beer.
I bet. Well, you know what?
They came from. What was pretty cool, there was one, the local football team were playing down somewhere.
But it's really rugby you're talking about.
No, it's Gaelic football.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a cross between, I don't know what you'd describe as a cross between soccer and Aussie rules, but it's an old game. It's around over 150 years, 160 years, yeah. But the whole team walked up the road about a mile and a half.
How
They
beautiful
all
is
parked
that?
their cars down. The whole team came with their jerseys on them, and the whole team was pretty emotional. Yeah.
Oh, it
Sure.
really is.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
It's wonderful.
I've always looked at it as a celebration of life.
Mhm.
I many times I've said
Yeah.
to people that when they're mourning and they're so sad, I said,
Sure, yeah.
let's be like the Irish.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate
Oh, for
the life.
Sure, it was a big
Let's
celebration.
have a couple
yeah.
pints together.
Yeah,
And
no,
let's
that-
talk about the people
exactly,
that
yeah,
you know,
exactly right. Yeah,
and it helps.
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, well, they often say, the difference between an Irish wake and an Irish wedding.
What's that?
One less drunk.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
have any of your kids gotten married yet?
No, not at all. No, I don't. They don't.
Well, save up, buddy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nobody's getting married until they're 35, 36.
That's it. You've told them already. You want to rush this thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. Exactly right. Exactly right. You don't be in any hurry getting married. Right?
Well, I tell you
It's
what,
true. It's true.
it is true. But I do feel very blessed because
What year did you get into
real estate?
Yeah. What year?
January 1st, 1987.
Oh, okay.
And I was a late bloomer.
Yeah.
I had my grandfather was in it, my father was in it.
Right.
I always go to the office. My dad would take me to all these different places.
Yeah.
He did like expert witness work,
Sure.
so he'd like me to come and critique him at the courts.
Yeah.
And then beforehand, he'd have me reading all the stuff to him, and he'd go over and over and over and over. And my dad was a real character.
Right.
So when he was on the stand, he was smooth and cool about it. But he's also past president of the Lake County Board of Realtors. My grandfather was one of the originals that started the multiple listing service in
okay.
Lake County.
Okay.
He was a sewer worker. He came
Right.
from Italy in 15, sewer worker for a long time. He got to the point where if there was a problem on the North Shore, they called Guy Vitti. He was down in that sewer. It didn't matter if it was 20 below.
Yeah.
And then he sold that to the Ratakas that still own it. And then he started the real estate insurance. So I was so headstrong and had so much fun with my friends and stuff that I thought the last thing I would do was get into real estate.
Right.
And then when I had problems in college and my dad kind of put the screws to me to say, you're going back to that school. And I said, with those guys already, I'm not going to go back there. Well, then I'm taking the rest of your money. I said, Dad, I love you, but I'm out of here. And I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico because my best friend's cousin started his construction company there. And so the first day I was there, I got a job as a busboy, and I became a waiter. And then the second day, my friend Jeff got me a job on this job site.
Yeah.
And so there was 5 Mexican brothers all on the job, and they were great workers. But man, I was the only one they could really tease because Jeff was the boss's cousin.
Right.
And so I was the only one.
Yeah.
So they harassed the hell out of me until they saw that I could take it, and that I was actually a really good worker because I did it like athletics. I was always an athlete. I was a basketball player, so I would get to the job early, work my ass off the whole time, and learn a lot. Like they thought it was a bad thing that I was mixing the mud, but I love mixing the mud because I wanted to get the consistency right, and then I wanted to figure out how do you get the wheelbarrow from there to there. They had it all screwed up. I put it all together. I dig holes and crunches so it's all right, and I loved it. And because of that background, I always feel like you meet a man who works with his hands. You look at him once and you know he understands.
Right. Yeah.
So I always feel like I always had that on my competition.
Sure. Yeah.
That I was always a builder,
Right.
and humble and willing to work harder than everybody,
Right, yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I always had more energy than everybody. So between those things, I was like, excited about it.
Right. Yeah.
And it is amazing about the construction field how it really. It does something to you.
Sure it does, yeah. I remember you were saying in 87. I was in England in 87. I was in, I had an uncle there. And I went over for a summer. And I'll tell you, that was...
Well, you were a kid.
Yeah, I was 15 at the time.
You was at a blast.
Oh my goodness, it was out of control. I was just at a wedding in Ireland. And Anne Thornton was... in 87, she was working in a bar in London, in England, in off Holloway Road. We were in Camden Town, just off Holloway Road. But myself and my uncle would go down to the gas station on the corner, just like the one across the street here, and we'd stand there, and the buses would come in, and the vans would come in, and we were day labour. So that was my summer.
So then they'd take you away.
But at this Anne Thornton, I was at a wedding in Ireland right before Christmas, and can you believe this? She was at the wedding.
Wow.
And I
Small
said,
world.
I said, I've seen her a couple of times, but I says, I often would ask her. I'd go down there in the evening, and I'd have a couple of pints with my uncle, and she'd have a frozen dinner. She always had some food for me to go. I'll never forget her. She was a wonderful lady. Yeah.
You know,
I went back to. I was leaving England, and I was going back after the summer. And I told my uncle, I says, I'd rather follow sheep up and down the side of the mountain the rest of my life than live here. I said, I'm out.
Enough.
I'm good.
Had you lived anywhere else in America other than Chicago, really?
I'm not really, no. I've only
You've traveled a lot, I know that.
I've been to Australia.
But this has been your home.
I've been all over the world and all over America. But Chicago's my home. I went to Australia for 6 weeks, like myself and another fella, and we were broke by the time we were leaving Australia. And I remember calling my brother Johnny because we'd missed so many planes and trains. Our tickets had expired from Los Angeles back to Chicago. And I remember thinking, well, if I can get back to Chicago, I know I'll find work and I'll make money. Somebody's going to pay me to do something.
Yeah, I'm going to get smart at this time. I'm going to save some of it.
Exactly right. Yeah,
I remember hitchhiking in New Jersey, and it was icy, and it was cold, and I had probably, at that point in my life, I probably hitchhiked about 4,500 miles, all over the place. And my parents were just crazy about it, and I had no money on me, but I never cared because I always had good things happen to me.
Yeah,
people say, "Oh, you got the luck to lose; they take care of you."
Exactly.
And as I'm hitchhiking, I look, and a big truck's coming by. When the truck goes by, I fall on this ice, and I've got this big backpack, and all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of the street, and I'm looking at a big semi coming right for me, and I just jump out of the way. The thing just misses me, but I really injured my knee.
Yeah.
And so I could see the Newark airport.
Right.
So I walked over to that airport. I called about 3 or 4 friends. I couldn't get anything from any of them. So I had to make that tough call to my dad.
Yeah.
And he's a funny guy. He's like, "What happened now, son?"
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You kind of stuck? You must really need me. I said, "Well, I called my travel agent, but I don't have a credit card or anything." And he goes, "Hey, listen, tell me where you're at. I'll get you the ticket. Get your ass home. Let's have some fun together."
Sure, yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Just
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Being young and crazy.
My big brother, I called. So
smart.
Yeah. Because you know yourself, you land here, and I knew that I was able to do a bit of working. I wasn't afraid of working. So
right. And this town is phenomenal.
I enjoyed it. Very good to me. I tell you, It's been very good to me.
So you live out in Park Ridge still?
No, I live in Edison Park.
Oh, you do?
I live by Brooks Park over there.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really like it there. That's it's the city, but it's the suburbs.
Then, well, some people will say it's like Disney World for grown-ups over there in Edison Park.
It is kind of like that.
It is, yeah.
I know you got a lot of police and firemen.
Yeah, exactly.
And Irish builders.
And Irish builders, yeah, exactly right. Irish builders is right.
So you ready for another beer? We're going to do a little bit more? Why not? This is actually my first Real Estate Legends drinking alcohol, but
I think it might become the common.
I just kept thinking about how much fun that conversation we
Should I
had.
rinse these?
No.
No? It doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother me either. We're going from Guinness to Harp.
Yeah, I think they used to call it the
Black and tan if we
Black
put them
and
together.
tan, right?
We would have had to pour the Guinness first, right?
Right.
Right, the black was
Was
at the
the
bottom
black
and
and tan? Yeah.
the tan. But,
There was the black and tan. What was the snake bite then? Was that what the...
well, I don't know if snake bite.
I think that was when you put Guinness and cider together or
Ooh,
something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed with how good that Guinness tastes.
Yeah,
I haven't
it's
had it in
nice.
a while.
Yeah, I haven't.
It's really a milkshake.
I haven't had a harp in a long time.
Well, here,
Yeah.
cheers.
Cheers. Well, thank you.
So let's talk about my partner Joe Cortano over here. He's helping us with all of these podcasts and videos.
Yeah.
We worked together at Remax for about 10 years
Right.
and have had a blast. And he's really taken the podcast where we can make them and get them up fast.
Sure.
And we're getting such viewership now.
Right.
And we're getting viewership and listening.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. Today was my first time where I met another agent and he came to me and he goes, "Your podcast is fantastic. You're so good at this.
Right. Sure.
I wanna put an ad on
Yeah.
your podcast." And I thought, okay, let me get back to you on that.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna think about that. We're gonna monetize this thing finally.
Yeah.
We
Might
put
finally
Ronan
start
Construction.
Finally making money.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's a subtle thing, and what my dad used to say, "Son, you grow on people, kind of like Jock Itch." But he was a funny guy, you know. Oh God, Jimmy. Well, I'm definitely going to sell you some land. I'm going to find something.
Well, we've been going around it long enough.
We have.
Well, we've done deals in the past.
We've done deals in the past.
Good ones too.
Great ones.
Yeah, those ones over on Buckingham. Those were
Oh
nice.
my God, that was.
Yeah.
I remember when my friend Bob Lamort, he's the hairdresser.
Right.
He came into my. I did a lot of walk-in business at Remax. I was one of the few people who was there all the time, and I would get all these walk-ins. And he comes in and he says, "I've got $250,000, and I'm going to get 5 agents, and I'm going to write 5 different offers. What do you think?" I said, "Well, first off, that sounds confusing, and we're going to sit down and talk why we should be teammates. You can write 20 offers, but you write them all with me."
Yeah.
And in our career, we've probably done 15 different transactions.
Sure, yeah.
And he called me one day and said, "You know, I'm going to finally sell Buckingham." And he bought Buckingham because I had sold him a building, a 6-flat on Burling.
Right.
And I put that on the 1031 exchange because I knew that agent was never going to sell it, because every time he went to sell this building, he'd show up with a can of keys, and he never marked them or anything.
Right, yeah.
So he would sit there like this. It would take him 20 minutes to show the building, so no one really saw the value.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it went expired at 562, but I wrote it on the 1031.
Yeah.
And then remember Joe Farrago?
Yeah, I do.
Kind of a tough guy.
Yeah,
He's owned a lot of buildings.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well, I was telling Bob Dicey, "Bob, you did." And Clayton Root was doing the loan, and I said, "Bob, you didn't get your loan today, but it's coming next week.
Yeah.
We should not say anything. Just risk your earnest money." "I can't do that." I said, "Well, then we're going to have to buy a different building." "Why?" "Because this guy is going to have another offer, and he's going to kick you out."
Right.
Kicks him out of the deal, and we end up getting the Burling. Now, it would expired at 562, but we had to pay $585 or
Right,
$590.
yeah. Sure.
And it's 2 years later, and Bob comes to me and goes, "I'm going to sell the building." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because I can make $150,000. I said, "Bob, what's the reason?" "I hate going over there and moving the garbage out." I said, "Have one of the tenants do it. Pay somebody. I'll do it for you. If you wait 5 years, it's going to sell for $1.6 million. Sure enough, he sold it. He made us $150,000 after all the commissions and everything.
Right.
And then 4 years later, the Greek people that bought it sold it to the Pritzkers for $1.6 million.
They did.
It's that big, huge lot there in the
Yeah,
1900,
right, yeah.
1900 block of Berlin. I mean, that was an obvious one.
Right, yeah.
You know, there's certain things that you see, but he did buy that place on Buckingham, and he did like a quick rehab on it.
Right.
And he had 5 units there. I don't know if they were all
That's
legal,
good,
but
yeah.
he made 5 rents.
units in it, yeah. Exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
They're all
then-
paying rent.
And then he told me, listen, the neighbor is going to sell it, but you got to
Yeah.
put it on $1.5 million. And I was like, $1.5 million. But then those two properties together,
Yeah, they're worth
for the right builder,
Yeah, for the right spot.
you made it right, and you
Yeah.
knew what to do.
Yeah.
And those units were
They're still unique today.
right. Well, they're so
The
long,
churches
they're
are
so
so-
big, they're like houses.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And such a large footprint on them. Yeah, no, for sure. There was, yeah.
Do you ever think about doing like a bigger townhouse development?
Yeah, I've looked at some stuff here and there, and we looked at, but I like staying in the city.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know lads out in the suburbs that developing out in the suburbs, and like they see what we're doing in the city, and they're like, "You must be crazy. There's no way to go down there and deal with like the city itself, right? Deal with
Right.
the city, deal with your alderman, deal with your neighbours, because everybody is really close together. So we're always very respectful of our neighbours, and we take them serious. You know what I mean? Because
Well, the
they're
good thing
your
is
next
that
door
with
neighbour,
you is you got enough going on that you can wait for the zoning change, or you can wait for the plans to be approved, and
Correct.
you've done enough that they can see that you're not a fly by night, and
yeah,
it's
we're
not
not-
going to
we're
sit
not in
there
and out.
half done.
Yeah, we're not in and out. Like we're there.
Right.
We're there. We're here since 1997.
Right.
Do you know what I
It's a
mean?
long
And
time.
we're still doing the same thing, but it's enjoyable.
Right.
I love what I'm doing today.
Well, it too, like you said, when you take something from either being a plot of land and you finally get it to the point where it's this gorgeous plot, like
Sure.
some of those single family houses you built
yeah,
are
right,
just
yeah,
like,
we built some
you
beautiful
wonder,
homes.
how could it be $2 million? Oh, it can't be $2 million. Then you go inside them and you look
Yeah,
at all the
yeah.
woodwork, you
Yeah.
look at all the different finishes, you say, oh God,
Sure, right, yeah,
200,
sure.
$2 million's a deal
Yeah,
on
right,
this
yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
I remember I built Prince Seabrook his house.
nice.
You know, but he wanted to buy the lot next door, and I had heard this story a long time ago from Rich Gregory, and so I go to, we're standing inside our house is almost finished, and he's like, I'm going to buy your house, but he says I want to buy the property next door, and the real estate agents are involved, and they're like, well, I sent them a letter, I sent them this, and I go to him, I go, Brent, if you want to buy the house next door, go up and knock on the door
Yeah, go buy it.
and tell the lady you want to buy her house.
Tell them who you are.
And tell them who you're at. You want to buy her house. You're buying the house next door. And I says, give her a lot of money for it and she'll sell it to you.
Exactly.
And my brother goes, Johnny goes, well, what's the worst that could happen? I go, the worst that could happen is she shoots you. But anything after that is an up. And he looked at me and I go, my brother Johnny and Brent went over, they knocked on the door, she didn't answer, but he wrote a note and he left it in her door and she called him back and he bought that.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean? So it's not about, sometimes it's about doing it yourself and not, if you want to buy it.
I have
go
a client
buy it.
right now that he is going to sell about 6 properties on a lot, on a block that he owns.
Yeah.
And I call him on this 21 unit building that's sitting vacant. And I started joking and laughing with him, and we talked for about 20 minutes. And he goes, you know, Greg, you know how many realtors have called me and buyers have called me on this property? I said, 200? He goes, at least. But you're the only one I want to work with.
Yeah.
I said, really, why me? Because you're not assuming. You're nice. You're not pushing me. I can work with you. I can tell I can work with you. And now it's 3 years later, and he's in a bind. But I have an agent call me and say, listen, I've got a professional athlete that has enough money to basically overpay.
Sure.
I said, well, you're going to have to overpay if you want to buy
Yeah, if you want to buy it.
Right. So now today I talked to him and he said, you know, I've got this blower motor I got to do. I've got this, I got that. But tomorrow we'll talk about all the different prices, and I'll sign a listing agreement with you. But I don't want you to put it in the MLS or anything. So that's fine.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah.
You don't have to put it in the
Yeah,
MLS.
no, you can put it in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I already have the buyer, I think.
Right, sure.
But
yeah.
if it's not him, it'll be someone else.
Yeah.
But it's hard earned, that was 4 years ago, that call.
Right, yeah.
And I've been working with the guy, patient, waiting, that's part of this.
That's part of it too, yeah. It's like when the person is ready to buy. But it's the same thing that goes on with, like, you hear them now, like, it's a seller's market now. But it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's a buyer's market, but it's a seller's market. And it's all dependent on location. Once again, it's location, right?
Why it's a seller's market right now, we'll explain this to them, is it's because of the lack of inventory. Why lack of inventory? Well, the interest rates are so high that it's not so high. They're probably about average from what they really were.
I remember the first.
Oh God!
I was paying 12%.
12, 18%.
The money, the monetary value was a lot more.
We were doing deals where the owner would finance and this and that. But when you have a loan for 2.5, like my loan's 2.62, you really think twice about selling to go get into a loan for 6%. So who's selling? Like I've had a client recently that had to be in Rogers Park, Edgewater.
Right.
But Edgewater was too expensive for his price range, so we're basically in Rogers Park.
Yeah.
But who's selling? Someone died. Someone got transferred.
Right, yeah. Somebody that has to.
Someone's divorced. Someone has to move.
Nobody's getting out to a 3.5% or a 4% or 4.5% or even a 5%.
To go to 6.5.
To go to 6.5.
Right.
For more money.
Right. And everything. So it's a fickle market that way. So sometimes too, you have it's a seller's market, but you get a lucky buy.
Yeah.
That's the other part of it. That's where
the other side of it.
You got to keep out there.
You have to be on your game to get that lucky buy. You have to be consistent.
You have to be consistent. You've got to get yourself out there. You've got to be patient with people. They've got to trust you. There's a lot of little subtle things.
Well, the buyer today is so well educated.
They really are.
Do you know what I mean? So well educated. And it's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
It is a good thing. You don't have to explain a whole pile to them.
Remember the old days? Buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
What did they call it? What was that called, Joe?
There was a Latin term to it.
Yeah.
Caveat emptor.
Caveat emptor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was always a great thing.
Yeah, that was a great one. I never took Latin in school.
No, I didn't either. That was funny. So, yeah, you know what? Sometimes the C students became the best salespeople.
Right, yeah. I remember years ago I was at LaGrange College and I had gone to see George Bush talk.
The old man or the son?
The son.
Okay.
And it was after he was president. And he gets up and he talks. He's a wonderful talker, and he makes a great speech. But he ends his speech. And what was cool about that, you couldn't have a phone or a camera or anything. There was only one camera allowed in there, and that he was controlling that. And he goes, where did he go to school? He went to. He went. I tell you, this is how the story went. He went to Harvard to give a speech, and he gets up there and he goes, and he said, I tell you what, you A students, you're the smartest people in this room, hands down. You're in the smartest school in the country, and you're an A student here. You have to be the smartest people in the country and in the world. And he goes, you B students, you will have all the A students working for you because you like to hustle. You're not great in school, but you're going to have to hustle at something. So now you have the A students working for the B students. And he goes, and you C students, you hang in there because one day you could be president too.
That's the truth.
And that's the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I was in Highwood, and this gentleman had made a wonderful film about the city, and he just happened to sit next to me, and so I said to him, you know what? I love interviewing people too. He goes, oh God, I worked at the Today Show for like 20 years. And I said, how'd you get a job like that? He goes, well, let's admit it. I was a CD student, dyslexic, and terrible. Yeah. But I met a guy that inspired me. And I said, well, how I do it is kind of like Johnny Carson. You just ask the basic questions. And if you're with good people and they like you, it's easy. Yeah, he goes, that's exactly what I learned. Yeah, right. And, I just ask basic questions and I get the film out and I've had a blast. And this guy worked for WTTW for a long time. Oh, he made a wonderful film of my little hometown and really good. Yeah. One of my cousins too, he sold his restaurant. He'd been there forever. And he's like, look at Lenny. He's at Buffalo's anyway, even though he sold the place. And he's talking. and now he's going to go do something with the mail, and it should take him 10 minutes, but this trip's going to take him an hour, because look, he stops at this store and he talks, he stops at here and he talks. Oh, it was fantastic. It was wonderful.
No, it was wonderful.
But
yeah.
So is there anything else that we should talk about?
Who other people do we have in common? If you were to name one, I'll name one after you.
Well,
Charlie and Harry.
Charlie and Harry, two wonderful people. The Huzanuses. Love those guys. That's why I went to Jameson. I was building the building at McGovern.
Yeah.
And that's why I lost Sean. Because I called him, I said, Sean, I'm going to leave. He goes, why? You just left. I said, listen, I'm building this building. I'm under stress. I need to be around Art, Chris, Harry, and Charlie.
Yeah.
And Harry, and Warren Baker also helped me, and you helped me. But Harry was phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah,
so friendly and fun.
Yeah, great.
The way they describe things. I want him to be a legend, but all the Jameson guys are holding back right now. But now that I got you, I'm going to get them.
I could be the icebreaker.
Yeah, you are the icebreaker.
What a wonderful company.
Yes.
Chris Fiore has created a great atmosphere over there.
Just
wonderful. Yeah.
I got to give it to him. And one of the things I think, both him and Art were riding so high. I mean, Chris was a model before he even got into real estate.
Sure.
When he really hit his stride, he was developing big buildings and going for it. His dad's the coolest guy helping him.
Yeah.
But I feel like hitting the hard times really brought him to be a much deeper person. And also, I think when you hit those tough times and you survive them, it's not what, it didn't kill him.
No.
And look at him now.
It didn't kill any of us. You
no.
know what I mean? But look at him.
But that humbleness
that
the financial strain puts on you.
Right.
I mean, he's a driven guy.
100%.
And I always have fun going into seeing him at his office, and he had a stand-up desk, and sometimes he'd be sitting down, I'm like, what are you sitting down for? He's like, no, you're right. And he'd get the desk up, and then we would talk back and forth. I actually miss some of those conversations.
He's built a wonderful company.
Oh, yes.
Built a wonderful company.
Yeah. And I liked the Jameson commercial too. I had a lot of fun with all those guys.
Yeah, with those guys.
Oh, God. So I was going both ways.
Clark
Patterson. Yeah, he left. Jose Colon left. Oh, we don't want to talk about all the negatives, but they didn't really. They really put the energy into the Sotheby's.
Yeah, they did.
And they got Mike Schoenfeld. They got Samantha Porter.
Mary Hamburg.
Yep, Mary Hamburg. Natasha Motel.
Exactly.
They've really built up a lot of. That was sad too, because
Nancy
Tassoni. She's a champion. I remember showing a property with her. It was a big single-family house, and she's like 5 minutes late, and she shows up, and she's 9 months pregnant with 2 kids. But she's got that big smile on her face, and she just waddled up, and
no kidding.
She did the showing.
She did.
And that's why Jimmy loves her so much.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, look at the things they're doing.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Like that one Chicago is just...
One Chicago. What a project.
How about 9 Walton?
Yeah, right.
He's such a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we went the other night, we were going to go to Gemini to eat.
Yeah.
We get there, Gemini's closed. Like, closed. I think that's unbelievable. They just opened.
It's closed.
So we went upstairs to another bar. Bartender, I said, what happened with Gemini? He goes, Jimmy didn't like the layout. Now, I remember when I went to that Gemini, I told my wife right away, I don't like this layout. The bar's over here, the restaurant's over there.
Yeah.
The modern thing now is they have the bar in the restaurant.
That's what it is.
And Jimmy just told him, look, I'm your partner. Partner doesn't like this.
Sure.
I want it right. For all the people that I put into these buildings, I need it right.
Right, yeah.
And I love that kind of thing. Sometimes you got to admit you probably didn't do exactly the right thing, and we got to correct it.
I done the build out for Warlord over at Milwaukee. I done the build out there for those lads, and wonderful group of guys. But they sat here, and they're like, "We want the kitchen in the front," and I'm like, "In the front? And he goes, yeah, we're going to do all the cooking up front.
Oh yeah, you walk in the door and there's the kitchen.
Yeah, and there's the kitchen. I go, that's crazy, but I'll do it.
Right. If you're paying,
we want.
if you sign off on everything,
Yeah,
I'll do it.
He goes, we want green floors. I showed him a piece of timber I had here a while back, and he goes, no, the floors are going to be green. I go, green on the floors? So we bought this lovely hardwood floors, and we basically painted and stained them green. And I'm like, this is insane. My two brothers came in, they're like, Jimmy,
what are you doing to this guy?
But when I remember walking into that building, and I bought it through another guy. Christoph. What's his last name? Fuck. I just talked to him the other day. But anyways, Jameson guy. Anyways,
Chris Olsen? No.
No. On the commercial side. Regardless, because I remember walking into that, and I thought it was the coolest space I had been in. And you know when you walk in, you feel something, right?
Oh, you feel it right away.
You feel it right away. Anyways, upstairs we remodeled it. There was holes in the roof and everything. It was in demo court, and you look at it. It's 3198 North Milwaukee, and I had driven by it 40 times leaving my office here. And one day I was driving by and I see the sign in the front window, for sale. And I'm like, call him right away. I'm going to have to look up his my phone because I don't want to. What the fuck is his name? Because I have to have it because he's a wonderful fella. Oh, no.
Who's that, Chris?
Begins with a K, his last name. K-I. It's just been a while. Anyway, I'll get back to it. Fuck it. But sorry, I walked in, right? And I was like, I gotta buy this place. And it was during the pandemic. And now upstairs was overrun with cockroaches. Those cockroaches, you could put saddles on them.
Oh God.
Roll them out of the place. They were giant. Rats. You
Oh
name it.
God.
It was
Scary.
Brutal. Nobody would have gone into it. Nobody was in it for years. And the place was just holes in the roof and anyways. It was in demo court for a reason. But anyways,
You saved it.
I saved it. And I demoed the first floor, just brought it back to nothing left there.
Just the bricks.
Just the bricks left. And we discovered a ghost wall on the south side of you go in there and I was kind of lit up, but it's Milwaukee Grocer. It was an advertisement for something. There was a grocery store next door at some point, and it was an advertisement for that, so it was only like...
How cool is that?
How cool is that? But anyways, I stuck a sign in the window myself after we remodeled it, and Trevor Fleming, who I know today is the chef over there, John Lipton and Emily Karza. So the three of them own that together now. And I remember he called me on a Saturday, and he says, I've been driving around looking for a space to open a restaurant. Could I do a restaurant here? I go, the place is set up for a restaurant. And he goes, I'll meet you there. So Sunday morning I went down there, I met him, and he walks in, and he's looking around, and he goes,
I love it.
can you, he goes, this place is cool. He goes, can you make it into a restaurant? And I go, can you cook? And from there, we formed a partnership, and the place is unbelievable. Phenomenal, yeah.
What did you pay for that one?
Oh, I can't tell you. How much money you got in the bank?
I don't care. I'm just curious. What year was that?
That was during the pandemic, so 2019, 2020.
Okay.
I remodeled it during the pandemic, and then they opened 2 years ago, so they opened in 22.
Well, thank God they kept us as
23, yeah, 23.
you know, we were still allowed to work.
Mark Custo.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
He is the best.
He's a good guy. He actually, I called him one day, or I went to his office. I go, Mark, I got a 40-unit building this guy will sell in Lakeview. And I show him the building. He goes, oh God, Hayes will buy that for sure. I go, well, the guy wants us to pay $250 for all the information and the rights to walk through. I've never done it before. Oh, that's bullshit. I said, well, we want to show it or not?
Yeah.
So we both put $125 in.
And he went?
We go to this place, and the manager shows it, and then Hayes comes to the office and he goes, "Oh, this is Dombrowski's building. He's eccentric as they come. He bought a plane. He works in our and we've got his money in our bank. He bought his own private jet because he likes to fly back to Germany with his dogs. He's got these 2 fancy dogs. He's so expensive. Let's get him on the phone." So Hayes gets him on the phone, and Dombrowski's like, "Well, it's worth at least $7 million." And Hayes goes, "I'll give you 8 if you'll really sell it to me today." And Dombrowski goes, "Well, what would my tax consequences be?" And so, Hayes tells him all the tax consequences or whatever, and he says, "Absolutely not. I'm not saying." He hangs up on him. I'm like, "Oh, great. I paid $250 to get hung up on." Yeah, kissed up. Yeah, he was kind of frustrated with me. But what a sweet guy.
Lovely fella.
And he's done very well.
Done extremely well for himself. And I built a couple of buildings for friends of him ever since I'd done that deal over there. And he's like, "Hey, will you do this?"
Him and Mark Jones.
Yeah.
Those guys have a nice little nice little thing with Harry and Charlie. They sell a lot of stuff for them. That's not a bad way to go.
Hey, you're playing with the kings.
No, that's it, man.
Right,
Well, Huzanis brothers, there was 3 of them. And the 2 of them, Charlie and Harry, worked.
Do you only bring 2 harps in?
Oh, no. And Charlie...
We're going to run out of that beer before we run out of time.
Exactly. Well, the good thing is, Joe's got a lot of film for us, so he can just keep on going. But they had the 3 brothers, and they were driving cab. So they would do 8-hour shifts each. So the cab was going 24 hours a day. And then Harry and Charlie got into real estate, and they worked at investors, but they would still be driving the cab.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And they did such a good job that one day they decided they were going to open Jameson.
Right.
And I think it was Harry's wife's maiden name was Jameson, I think.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
And what year did they open that over there?
God, it must have been it was the 70s.
It was,
It was the 70s, I think.
Yeah. I remember the first building that I did, the one over on Wadigal, because myself and Johnny and Stephen, we were both working for Hennigan, and Johnny was working for the gas company. And Lally Masonry put it on the roof for us. And we put it on the roof or whatever on a weekend. And we set up lights.
Is that Chuck's buddy Lally?
No, Matty Lally.
Okay, it's a different one.
A different one.
Okay.
Yeah, and a different Matty Lally, not. But anyways, he's out at Glensall. But he. So we put the lights on the inside, so we'd work our days for our regular jobs, and then we went there at night and we worked there at night, and.
Hey man, when you're a youth, you got the energy. You can work 2 jobs.
I'm like, what are we going to do? Go sit at a bar or go home and watch
working.
TV? Or,
Yeah.
The work wasn't that hard.
Oh God,
That's what
I used to have these
That's
jobs.
the lads have been telling you the work was hard. I go, you fuckers never worked with my father.
Exactly. This is a cakewalk.
This is it.
Well, I had a partner, and we were doing construction, and at night we would go and paint the Shrimp Walk, the restaurant in Highwood.
Yeah.
And the owner said, you can have whatever you want. Like, it's 3 in the morning. You could have a steak or whatever.
Sure.
This son of a bitch figured out what we ate, and he would charge us for that. So I think we worked like 3 weeks, and we didn't make any money because we ate like kings. But I literally would get to the point where it's like 5 in the morning, and I'd say, Bill, no more using the tools.
Yeah.
We could cut our hand off or something.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, like it's time. Stop that.
Yeah, the first year myself and Stephen were in business. We started on January 1st. We had a couple of jobs lined up, and we basically, and Hennigan had told us, because we were working for Hennigan as well, and Hennigan was like, I said, we've enough work. I said, I'm going to go full time by myself. And Hennigan says, well, if you have a spare day, let me know. And he says, I'll fill it in for you. And I was like, okay. We worked every day, and we worked 12, 14-hour days for that first year. I remember it being, I want to say, the day after Christmas the following year, St. Stephen's Day. Because we worked a half day on Christmas, and then the day after, this fellow Sean McHugh, and I remember exactly, we were doing a job over on School Street, and he pulls up, And he goes, "You're working on St. Stephen's Day." That was more sacrilegious than working on Christmas Day. In Ireland, St. Stephen's Day is a big holiday. You know?
Especially your brother's name,
Boxing Day, but it'd be Boxing Day in England. People would know about St. Stephen's Day. And he pulls up around noon and he goes, "Come on." So we threw all the tools in the van and we went on the beer for the day.
Finally took a day off.
Yeah, and that was the first day we missed in the first year. And then we missed that day, but we started the next day and we worked again for another year.
You know, we used to do 10-hour days, 4-day weeks.
Yeah.
But my buddy Jeff and I would get to the job site an hour early and we'd leave an hour late. So we're working 12-hour days. And then John thought, let's go back to 8-hour days. And then we did the 8-hour day. We're like, can't get anything done in an 8-hour day. If you're taking a lunch and a break, that's not with construction. There's too much stuff to do.
Not at all. There was way too much.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the 10-12-hour day is like a natural, and I can definitely see you guys doing that.
Right, yeah. When I worked for Hennigan, Jimmy Kelly was one of the foremen. And he used to tell us, he goes, if you were as punctual in the morning as you are in the evening, things would go a lot better around here.
Yeah, ready to get the fuck out of there. It is amazing how you wake up at the end. I was a waiter for years. That was my best sales experience. You know, I worked at Arnie's downtown, and we had the conventions come in, and I'd have 25 to 30 people at my station, and the kitchen was so far away, the bar was so far away. So I had to be really smart. When I was going to the bar, you had to get everything for everybody, and you had to be kind of, you know, translucent. Everybody's got a different personality. You got to be nice to some people you talk to a lot. But it was phenomenal because it really taught me sales, basic sales.
Basic sales, yeah.
How to be nice, how to be friendly, how to help.
But I think everybody is in some parts, whether you're an attorney, an accountant,
whatever you are.
Like
people size you up in 10 seconds.
You're in sales.
We're selling something. Everybody's in sales. I don't care if you don't sell anything. You're in sales.
You're in sales,
right?
Yeah, exactly. You'd be thinking, well, you're not in sales. You're an accountant. Well, you're in sales because if you're working for yourself.
Well, it's funny how it goes because like today I went to this commercial forum meeting, and first I met a gentleman who does tax law.
Yeah.
And I told him who my tax law attorneys we talked, and he felt kind of standoffish about it. And I'm thinking, oh, he's not very good at this networking. We don't know each other. How would he expect me to use him until I met him? I mean, and then I meet this engineer, and he's a sweet guy. And I started telling him, hey, I know this guy who did this. You know, what we could do together. He's like, what's that? I said, you figure out where all the brownfield places are that are all screwed up. And then I'll figure out who might want to build on them. And you could get the work for doing it. He goes, you would do that? I said, I would do that.
Sure, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? And it was fun to see, like, the light bulb go off in his head. He's really a salesperson, he doesn't realize
He doesn't know it.
Right. A lot of those people in that room don't know it, you know? But it is amazing how it's all about relationships.
Sure it is, yeah.
And a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I thought that was a... I thought there was a Guinness. I thought another Guinness came out of the blue. But we do have one more, so...
We don't have to share the last one?
That's what I was thinking. I'm going to pour some in yours because I don't want to drink all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife told me tonight, you got to make sure that we don't drink tonight.
We're taking Ubers tonight.
Yeah, that's right. We're definitely Ubering home.
Yeah.
And I said, no problem, honey. I'll make sure we don't drink tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I'm drinking early, so I won't drink later. Okay, here's the Sean Conlon.
Here's the Sean Conlon.
And Karen.
Right.
Karen Conlon.
And Karen too.
I really like him. Yeah. He's a nice kid.
Great Irish guy died towards the end of last year.
Oh, the builder?
It's a restaurant owner. The Irish Oak.
Oh.
The Gage. The Dearborn. His family runs the Billy Lawless.
Right.
Yeah.
And there, who's the other builder that just passed? Remember Boyle called me and told me he went to see him. Oh, shit. But he you know, in Tracy Romano, she told me, I went to the funeral. Yeah. She goes, that's a really good place to meet people. I said,
sure it is.
It's a celebration of life.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's always laughed at me about that.
Yeah.
You go to every funeral.
Right,
I said, well, yeah, because I know all these. I know a lot of people.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and I respect them. And I want to pay them my due.
Yeah, right.
A lot of people get scared about that. Yeah. Ooh, death, I want to run away. I don't want to run away. I want to live life as long as I can.
Yeah.
And pass nicely.
Exactly, pass nicely.
And everybody could say, wow.
Right.
Well, he did a lot of interviews. Sold a few properties.
Yeah, you can say it all.
He had a lot of friends.
They'll be counting our beers tonight.
Oh, they're counting our beers. We've never had one like this before. Look at this. Oh, Jimmy, this is fun.
And stuff. Yeah.
So, I think it's probably, when I first started the podcast, I think it was like 2021. And I called you and said, I'm going to interview you someday.
Right,
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I don't know, we'll see,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And then I kept
Yeah,
pecking at you,
right.
pecking at you.
Right.
And now here we are today.
We're
and
here
it's
today,
so
yeah.
fun to be here
And
with
you
you.
didn't show up empty-handed. I appreciate
Well,
that.
you know what I thought about that first time I met you, and just how much fun our conversation was, and I'm
Yeah,
sure,
sure.
like some of the stuff that we talked about, we probably can't.
Yeah, we probably rehashed it.
We can't. And we did
Yeah.
rehash a lot of it, and
Right.
I'm sure Joe will do a nice job of trimming this thing down a little bit because we're going a little long.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, but
I don't know if we're done yet, but we're probably going to run out of beer and we'll have to wrap it up.
we're gonna have to wrap it up here.
It might
at
have to be a
certain point.
part 2 at some point. later down
Exactly.
the road.
No question about it, because you know that this is going to be greatly seen,
Yeah.
and we're going to share it throughout the whole
Right, yeah.
community.
That's fair enough.
Oh
That's fair
God!
enough, yeah.
Oh my God!
I remember I was working with Hennigan and another fella, we call him, I don't know what his last name was, but Pat the Foot, the boys called him. He was after coming in from New York, but he was good at building bars, and he had built a bar in Vince's basement and everything.
Like one of those really fancy bars.
Yeah. But the first day he showed up on the job. He had like his tool belt on, and he had a cat's paw with him, right? You know what a cat's paw is? It's like a little thing. It's usually
Oh yeah, where you pull the nails.
Pull the nails with it, right? And
Oh
it's a
God, I
tiny
used that
little
for
thing.
years.
And you pull the nails with it. And Hennigan says to him, he says, it's not a great sign of a carpenter
No.
showing up with a cat's paw,
That's
right?
it.
And he goes, you'd be amazed at the amount of people that would ask you for it.
It is funny how that
Yeah,
goes.
exactly, yeah. So later in the day, of course, we were framing something, and next thing, Hennigan turned around to Pat, and he says, "Hey, give me that cat's paw." And don't you say one fucking word about it. Give me the cat's
God.
paw.
So, you know what? The camaraderie on a job site was always so much fun. Like, you talk about busting balls.
Yeah, right,
That-
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes people take it real hard. I remember the craziest thing I ever did. Strongest guy on the crew. Really tough guy. And he wasn't that friendly, but he liked me. But I was so hungry. And the job site was like 4 miles from town. I didn't have a car. And it was, you know, at 10 o'clock I was hungry. By about 11:30, I saw his sandwich. And I thought, if I just eat half, he won't notice. Oh my God, that guy chased me. And in New Mexico, they've got, you know, they got big mountains, or pretty mountainous, and you're running through the pinon trees. I can never remember him chasing me.
Right, yeah,
And
yeah.
he was never going to catch me, you know.
Yeah,
but
right, yeah.
if he would, he would have killed me.
Right, yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, you'd meet some wonderful people, wonderful tradesmen. Still today, I think they're like you look at. We had brought up the union earlier on, but you look at the efficiency of a union company today. How well
God.
trained those guys
How
are.
about
Unbelievable.
like they just built W.E. O'Neill, and I worked with them for a while. I worked on the State Street Mall.
Sure.
There were 40 guys on the crew.
Yeah.
Me, the president's son, and 38 African American guys. And I remember the first day the boss comes over, this guy Johnny Lukanik, real asshole, swearing, yelling at everybody. I thought he was cute, funny the way he was talking to me. He's like, "See all those boards? I want you to take out every nail on every board and lay them up perfect." Well, like I told you, I go after it like an athletic event.
Right.
So I get in there and start pulling nails. He comes over and goes, "Hey, this is a union job. You trying to show up people? Is that what you're trying to do?" I go, "No, I'm trying to do a really efficient job." He goes, "Well, don't. Do it nice and slow, steady." I thought that was the funniest damn thing.
Right.
But so then I saw a year and a half ago, W. O'Neill was building a big
Yeah.
hotel on
Right.
like Superior, right by my house. We walk by it a lot. That thing, every unit, all done in a year and a half.
Yeah.
They finished the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
Can you imagine those drywall guys, how fast they are, how good they are?
Right.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just unbelievable.
Right, yeah, unbelievable. So well organized. And like, I've often thought that what you should do is, like, pick a project and sit a camera over it.
Oh yeah, and do the time lapse.
Do the time lapse.
Oh yeah.
And see how they pour the concrete, the steel,
Put in the steel in.
concrete, and those guys
Spray
work
the
hard.
outside with the.
Those guys work hard all the time, but they're consistent. Look at them.
Oh,
the
yeah.
movement of them around the job site. So extremely well organized today and extremely well built.
Well, look at Chicago. Look at all these great companies we have. Like, you know, like I said, W.E. O'Neill.
Yeah.
Just right. What's the one with the W? Yes, I can't think of all. But there's like 10 top notch.
Yeah,
Walsh is the
right.
most.
Yeah,
they're so good. Pepper.
Yeah.
And then there's like these smaller guys like Macon.
Yeah.
That have really become
Sure,
Brian O'Malley.
He's
He's going to be working for them over there.
That's
Brian
right.
O'Malley. Let's
Brian
get into
O'Malley,
that.
another great guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I remember him saying to me, I was 11 years old. My dad had me like 4 stories up on the scaffolding.
Yeah, sure.
I looked down and thought, I gotta be crazy to be here. But I got really good at it.
Wonderful carpenter, you know. Great, just
great guy.
Smart guy, too.
Well, I had this client, Jeff Parkhill, and I had sold
his
him.
brother-in-law, P.G. O'Donnell, another guy.
And I say to Parkhill, I kept calling him, and I'd sold him probably about 7 buildings over, a 9-year span.
Yeah.
Had the smartest wife in the world. We were buying one, and she took all the comps and she made all these notes. So when I went in to negotiate, in the old days, remember we'd show up there and negotiate, and I was telling them, look at the way she does this. She's gonna be one of the top bankers in the country, and she ended up being the top banker in the country. So I would call Jeff and say, Jeff, you got that CEO position? No, where? I don't know, but you're a University of Chicago guy. I know how smart your wife is and how much she makes, and I know all the buildings that I've sold you, and you have so much equity in there.
Yeah.
Why don't you become a developer? And he goes, well, I did such a bad job on that unit in Barry where you sold it. I said, well, just listen to Vinny. Use the quality stuff this time. Come on, I'll help you.
Yeah.
So I bring him over to Tommy Romano, and I said, Tommy, we want to use your house as the model. I want to build something close to there. Can you help me get a GC, get the plans? How much would you charge it? And we can use your office. He goes, well, $20,000, but I can get you the plans for $5,000, and I'll get you this GC. He gave us Brian O'Malley.
Right, yeah.
And he ended up selling the building. No, actually, we built the building and it was gorgeous, and it didn't sell right away. And I put on this crazy party. I had a piano player, all these people coming, and a week later, someone totally different from the party bought it for full price.
Did.
He made $270,000 net.
Right.
He started working with Scott Whalen at Sussex and Riley.
Kidding.
So I called him. I said, well, what's the story? He goes, well, he's a builder. I want a partner that's a builder. I said, I get that, but how about the buildings I sold you? He goes, oh, I'll sell all of them through you. Okay, good. And we've had a cordial relationship. I actually called Scott one day and sold him a townhouse development that I knew was coming up.
Right.
So, I've never wanted to clip anyone's wings.
Not at all, no.
I want to help everybody fly.
Yeah, I've often said the same thing as I deal with a lot of different people, and I get a lot of different calls from a lot of different people every day.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And so,
you've helped a lot of people too. Like Damien's the one who told me. I came into America. I didn't know anybody, anything. They told me go to the Irish bar, meet Jimmy Ronan, and he'll give you a job and he'll take care of you. And he goes, I did. Yeah. Jimmy came in, and
he became a very successful.
Oh my God! Incredible.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Very good.
He took it to the next level.
He was a smart guy.
But that's happened to me with real estate too, where Sean probably sells more than I do now. I probably trained and helped mentor probably 35, 40 people in this business.
Yeah.
And probably 10 of them didn't stick. But the other ones did very, very well. Yeah. And I still have some of them call me. Well, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think? And I just had this guy Steve call me, and I just gave him really solid advice. He was like, I don't think that's what I was expecting you to tell me.
Right, sure, yeah.
Oh, you're expecting me to tell you to be big Mr. Developer all of a sudden, and you're the Johnny Got Rocks.
Yeah.
Come down to level.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't spend money you don't have.
I had a guy call me 2 days in Friday, and he's like, I'm in a bit of a jam. I go, which this happened to me before. It's funny that the guy called me. So he calls me and he's like, I've done this deal And he says, I have a zoning cert for 2 units in the front and 2 units in the rear, in the coach house. But he goes, now...
It's
he
2
said,
and 1.
It's 2 and 1. But he says, the zoning cert says this. And
Doesn't
I go,
matter.
yeah. I said, you got to go to the Sanborn maps and you got to go to the water cert.
Got to go to the water certs.
Yeah.
And you got to also look and see, does all this stuff look like it's from 1957?
Right.
If you can prove that, because I proved a lot of them wrong,
Yeah.
but nowadays they're kind of tougher on that.
Right, yeah,
They don't
they're
care if
tougher.
they wrote it for
And
you
I says,
before.
the same thing happened to me. I says, probably 5 or 6 years ago, I bought a 2-flat with a coach house in the rear. And I says, when I went to get my permit, it was a single family front in the rear and a coach house single family in the thing. And I go, and he goes, and I go, what did you do? I go, I got a single family and a coach house. I go, that was it.
Well,
and then
you know what
that's
you
when I
have to think out of the
discovered-
box. So that Park Hill, I sold him this place. That one I was talking about, we negotiated, and I said, you know, Jeff, if you really want to make money on this place, you got to put a garage in the coach house. Because what I would do, I said, listen, man, it's going to cost you $50,000,
Yeah.
but it's going to make you $200,000.
Sure, what, yeah.
And then
parking is
he
important.
called me after we sold it and said, you know what, I owe you dinner because the garage made it. I said, well, no one's going to buy a big, nice house if
Yeah.
they can't park a car in a garage.
Sure, right, yeah.
Like, it doesn't, you know, so sometimes rather than have 2 units, they have a garage with a nice unit. That works.
Right, yeah. But I think if you look at the, there's a term, not the, well, they brought in the ADUs, but before they brought in the ADUs, they brought in the...
Additional
transit-
dwelling units.
Yeah, the additional dwelling units. They brought in the transit-orientated development.
Right, TOD.
Yeah, and I think that is probably one of the best things the city ever did,
Yes.
without a doubt.
It sure helped.
I love public transportation. I'll take public transportation any chance I get.
You know, I do
still
too.
ride the L.
I
still
love
ride
it.
the Metro. Do you know what I mean? It's like I just enjoy it.
Well, my wife and I will take the L down to the Wind Trust Center to see the Sky play. Or we'll take the Red Line to see the White Sox. Or we'll
Yeah.
take the Red Line to see the
Sure.
Cubs.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's part of the, especially when
yeah.
you're going to the games with the teams, like especially
Mhm.
the Sox and the Cubs. Everybody's dressed to go. And I mean, I'm never
Yeah.
wearing Cubby blue.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a White Sox guy.
Yeah.
Um,
You can end this program right now.
well, I asked my mother.
You should have told me that. at the
Third
beginning.
grade. I told my mother in 3rd grade I wanted to be a Cub fan, and she said, really seriously, where would you eat? And I
Yeah.
said, well, you have a lot of food. Not when there's Cub fans in the house.
Right.
And so the first night I was in the den, they were all eating, and I thought, this is going to be a long road if I really want to be a Cub fan, and I don't think it's really worth it. And so with my parents, at a certain age, if I wanted to see them, I had to go to White Sox Park.
Yeah.
And they probably went to 30 games a year.
Right.
And
right.
you know, like I'd say, Dad, do you really give a shit about baseball? No. I have fun with your mother. We're out here relaxing.
Sure, right, yeah,
We
yeah.
talk, we joke, we bring people with us.
Right,
Greg.
right,
This is
yeah,
what it's about.
It's a social atmosphere.
Now, I have other friends of mine that know, like, if you're at the game with them, they'll tell you, okay, see where the shortstop's playing there, he moved here, and they tell me all these intricate things you'd
Yeah.
never be able to see. I'm like,
Right.
and then what happens, just like Steve Stone does.
Yeah,
You know,
sure,
it's like,
yeah.
how?
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, you know
the
what?
social aspect of it, getting
Oh.
out and about it.
No, and there's nothing like going to a Cubs game on a sunny day,
That's
sitting in the
there's nothing
bleachers
like
or
it.
something.
Second to none.
Right.
Second
It's
to none,
phenomenal.
man. Yeah,
It's
right,
phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Jimmy,
All right, we're running out
I
of
think
beer.
we're gonna finish the beer, but we're gonna say
Cheers.
cheers to everybody.
Yes,
Thanks
lunch.
for watching and listening.
Good stuff.
God bless.